Subscribe to Storylab for more stories. Now let's begin this one. Chapter 1. The Calm. Before Shane Jones stood at his woodworking bench, hands steady as he shaped a cherry wood box, a birthday gift for his daughter Marcy. The garage smelled of sawdust and linseed oil, familiar scents that grounded him after 15 years of teaching young Marines how to break bones and end threats. At 48, his beard showed more gray than brown, and his frame carried an extra 30 pounds that soft civilian life had added. But his hands never forgot. They remembered every pressure point, every joint lock, every devastating strike he'd drilled into thousands of warriors. "Dad?" Marcy appeared in the doorway, 22 years old with her mother's dark hair and his blue eyes. Something was off. She wore a turtleneck despite the California heat, and her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "Hey, sweetheart. Come see this." Shane held up the box, its dovetail joints perfect. "What do you think?" "It's beautiful." She stepped closer, and Shane noticed the careful way she moved, favoring her left side. His instructor instincts kicked in, the same ones that had kept him alive in Fallujah and Helmand Province during his Force Recon days before he became the Marine Corps' top MC map instructor at Quantico. "How's Dustin treating you?" He kept his tone casual, but his eyes tracked every micro-expression. "He's good. Really good." The pause was half a second too long. "Actually, we're training together now. He's teaching me some boxing basics." Shane's jaw tightened. Dustin Freeman, 26 cocky MMA fighter who trained at some strip mall gym called Titan's Forge. They'd been dating 4 months, and Shane had disliked him from the first handshake. Too much grip, too much eye contact, the kind of insecure dominance display that screamed overcompensation. "Marcy." Shane set down his tools. "If anything's wrong..." "Nothing's wrong, Dad. I'm not a kid anymore." She kissed his cheek and retreated before he could push further. "Mom needs help with dinner." That evening, Shane sat across from his wife, Lisa, at the dinner table, Marcy's empty chair between them. Lisa, a trauma nurse at County General, had the same worried crease between her eyebrows. "She's covering bruises," Lisa said quietly. "I saw them when I stopped by her apartment yesterday. Finger marks on her upper arm." Shane's knuckles whitened around his fork. "She denied it?" "Said she bumped into a door frame during a workout." Lisa's voice cracked. "I've seen enough domestic violence victims to know the difference between accident and assault, Shane." The old warrior in Shane wanted to drive to Dustin's gym right then, but 15 years of tactical training had taught him patience. You didn't win fights by charging in blind. You gathered intelligence. You waited for the right moment. You struck when your enemy's guard was down. "I'll handle it," Shane said. "Legally, Shane. Promise me." He met his wife's eyes and said nothing. Some promises he couldn't make. Chapter 2. Gathering Storms. 2 weeks crawled by. Shane watched and waited, his surveillance training from Force Recon kicking in. He drove past Titan's Forge 3 times, memorizing the layout, the patterns, the faces. Dustin's coach was a loudmouth named Perry Cox, 40-something with a shaved head and neck tattoos, the kind of trainer who confused brutality with discipline. Shane also made calls. His old Marine buddy Gabriel Stevenson, now a PI in San Diego, ran background checks. "Your daughter's boyfriend is dirty, brother," Gabriel reported over the phone. 3 assault charges that got pleaded down, restraining order from an ex-girlfriend. And here's the kicker. His uncle is Royce Clark. Shane's blood ran cold. Royce Clark ran the Southside Vipers, a gang that controlled drug distribution and underground fighting circuits across 3 counties. They weren't street-level punks. They were organized criminals with legitimate business fronts and dirty cops on payroll. "Freeman's their prize fighter," Gabriel continued. "They use him in illegal prize fights, betting hundreds of thousands. He loses, people die. He's psychotic in the ring, Shane. 3 opponents hospitalized, 1 with permanent brain damage. Send me everything." "Shane, these people aren't some drunk Marines you can straighten out. Send me everything." That night, Marcy came for dinner. She wore long sleeves again, moved more carefully than before. Shane's wife tried to draw her out, but Marcy picked at her food, jumped when her phone buzzed, checked it constantly with barely concealed fear. After dinner, Shane walked Marcy to her car. "Baby girl, I know what's happening." Her eyes filled with tears. "Dad, please don't." "Has he hit you?" "It's complicated. He gets stressed with training, with his uncle's expectations. It's not always, 'Has he hit you?'" The tears spilled over. "He says he loves me. He apologizes every time. He's under so much pressure from his family." Shane pulled her into a hug, felt her shake against him. "This ends now." "Dad, you don't understand. His uncle, Dustin, said if I leave, Royce will hurt you, hurt our family. They're connected, Dad. Police, judges, everyone. Let me worry about that. Promise me you won't do anything stupid." Shane stroked her hair like he did when she was little, scared of thunderstorms. "I promise I'll fix this." That night, he pulled his old footlocker from the garage attic. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, were things he'd hoped to never touch again: tactical gear, surveillance equipment, and a notebook filled with 15 years of knowledge on how to neutralize threats. The Marine Corps had trained him to be a weapon. It was time to remember how to deploy that weapon. Chapter 3. First Blood. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. Shane was at his job as a shop foreman at a custom furniture company when his phone rang. Lisa's voice was ice. "Marcy's in the ER. She listed me as her emergency contact." Shane's vision narrowed to a tunnel. "How bad?" "Concussion, bruised ribs, split lip. She says she fell downstairs, but Shane, there are defensive wounds on her forearms. And witnesses saw her arguing with Dustin in the parking lot of his gym an hour ago." The phone cracked in Shane's grip. "I'm on my way." But he didn't go to the hospital. Not yet. First, he drove to Titan's Forge. The gym occupied a converted warehouse on the industrial side of town. Bass-heavy music pounded from inside, mixed with the thud of fists on bags and coaches barking orders. Shane parked and sat for 5 minutes, breathing deeply, finding the cold, calm center he'd cultivated in combat zones. When he walked through the door, the smell hit him. Sweat, testosterone, and arrogance. 20 fighters were scattered across the space, working bags, grappling on mats, sparring in a cage. Dustin Freeman stood near the cage, laughing with his coach Perry Cox and 3 other fighters. Dustin was tall, muscular, covered in tattoos, with that predatory confidence that came from never facing real consequences. Shane walked straight toward them. A few fighters noticed, stopped their work. The music seemed to dim. Dustin saw him coming and grinned. "Well, well, Daddy came to visit." He nudged Perry. "This is Marcy's old man." Perry Cox looked Shane up and down, the extra weight, the gray beard, the carpenter's clothes, and laughed. "What are you going to do, Grandpa? Give us a stern talking to?" Shane stopped 10 feet away. His voice was quiet, conversational. "You put your hands on my daughter. Your daughter's a clumsy bitch who can't follow simple instructions," Dustin sneered. "Told her your fat old ass couldn't protect her. She didn't believe me, so I had to teach her respect." The 3 fighters with them, Shane recognized their faces from Gabriel's report. Lamar Duncan, Brenton Cantrell, Andres White, all Vipers Gang associates, spread out slightly, surrounding him. Perry stepped forward. "Here's how this goes, Grandpa. You turn around, walk out, and forget you have a daughter, or my boys will make sure you leave on a stretcher." Shane smiled. It was the smile he'd given Taliban fighters who didn't know they were already dead. "I was a Marine Corps hand-to-hand combat instructor for 15 years. I trained Force Recon operators, MARSOC raiders, and over 3,000 combat Marines." He rolled his shoulders, and suddenly the extra weight didn't look so soft. "You're going to need more than 3 guys." "Crazy old fuck." Perry nodded at his fighters. "Put him down." What happened next took 17 seconds. Lamar came in first, throwing a haymaker. Shane sidestepped, caught the arm, and executed a textbook Kote Geishi wrist lock combined with a knee to the solar plexus. Lamar dropped like a stone, gasping. Brenton and Andres rushed together. Shane moved like water, decades of muscle memory, taking over. He deflected Brenton's punch, trapped the arm, and delivered a palm strike to the ear that ruptured the eardrum. As Brenton screamed, Shane pivoted, caught Andres's kick, swept the standing leg, and dropped an elbow on the falling fighter's knee. The snap echoed through the gym. 14 seconds. Perry Cox grabbed a training knife from the wall rack and lunged. Mistake. Shane's disarm was reflexive. Trap the weapon hand, control the wrist, apply pressure to the nerve cluster while stepping into Perry's center line. The knife clattered away. Shane drove 3 rapid strikes into Perry's floating ribs, then swept both legs. Perry crashed onto his back. Shane followed him down, knee on sternum, and delivered 2 precise strikes to the jaw that sent Perry into darkness. 17 seconds. 3 fighters and a coach on the ground, 2 unconscious, 1 clutching a destroyed knee, 1 rolling in agony with a ruptured eardrum. Shane stood and turned to Dustin Freeman. Dustin's cocky grin had vanished. He backed toward the cage, hands up. "You're dead. My uncle—" Shane closed the distance in 2 steps. Dustin threw a combination, jab, cross, hook. Shane parried each strike, then delivered a front kick to the solar plexus that sent Dustin stumbling backward into the cage wall. Before Dustin could recover, Shane was on him. Trapping an arm behind his back, Shane slammed Dustin's face into the chain link once, twice, 3 times. Blood splattered, teeth cracked. Shane spun Dustin around and lifted him by the throat, speaking inches from his ruined face. "You ever come near my daughter again, I'll kill you, you understand me?" Dustin gurgled something that might have been agreement. "I didn't hear you." "Yes, yes." Shane dropped him. Dustin collapsed, whimpering. Shane looked around the gym. Every fighter had backed away, phones out, filming. Good. Let them see. Anyone else want to teach the old man a lesson? Silence. Shane walked out, his knuckles barely bruised, his breathing steady. Behind him, someone was already calling 911. Chapter 4. The Reckoning. The knock came at 6 a.m. the next morning. 2 detectives, Roosevelt Kent, a black man in his 50s with tired eyes, and Sue Shepard, a sharp-featured woman in her 30s. Shane opened the door in his bathrobe, coffee in hand, expecting this. "Mr. Jones, we need to talk about an incident at Titan's Forge gym yesterday. Come in." Shane led them to the kitchen. Lisa stood by the counter, her lawyer face on. She'd made calls last night to their attorney, prepared for this moment. Detective Kent pulled out a notebook. 4 men are in the hospital. Perry Cox has a fractured jaw and broken ribs. Lamar Duncan has internal bleeding. Brenton Cantrell has a ruptured eardrum and needs surgery. Andres White's knee is destroyed. Doctors say he'll never fight again. And Dustin Freeman has a concussion, broken nose, 7 missing teeth, and trauma to his trachea. That's unfortunate, Shane said. Evenly. Multiple witnesses filmed you assaulting them. Self-defense. 5 men surrounded me, made threats. 1 came at me with a weapon. I defended myself. Sue Shepard leaned forward. "Mr. Jones, these men are claiming—" "These men put my daughter in the hospital with a concussion, bruised ribs, and a split lip. I have medical records, photographs, and witness statements. Dustin Freeman has a history of assault charges and domestic violence. I confronted him about abusing my daughter. He and his colleagues attacked me. I neutralized the threat using the minimum necessary force my training allowed." Kent's expression shifted slightly. "Your training?" 15 years, Marine Corps hand-to-hand combat instructor. MC MAP black belt, 4th degree. I taught at Quantico. Before that, Force Recon, 3 combat deployments. Would you like my service record? The detectives exchanged glances. Kent cleared his throat. "Mr. Freeman's uncle, Royce Clark, has filed a complaint. He's demanding we arrest you for aggravated assault." Royce Clark. Shane sipped his coffee. Head of the Southside Vipers, drug trafficking, illegal gambling, racketeering. I'm surprised he wants police attention. Sue's eyes narrowed. "What do you know about Royce Clark?" "Only what any citizen can find with basic research. I'm curious why a violent gang leader is pressing charges instead of handling things his own way, unless he's worried that official scrutiny might expose other activities." The room went quiet. Finally, Kent stood. "We'll need you to come to the station, give a formal statement." "Of course, I'll call my lawyer." After they left, Lisa gripped Shane's arm. They could still charge you. They won't. Too many witnesses saw Freeman's crew surround me. Self-defense is clear, but this isn't over. Shane looked out the window. Royce Clark doesn't call police when his pride is hurt. He makes examples. He was right. That afternoon, Shane's boss called him into the office. Jarvis Ho, the owner of Premium Craft Furniture, looked uncomfortable. "Shane, someone came by this morning. Royce Clark." Shane's jaw tightened. "What did he want?" "He said you put 4 of his guys in the hospital. Said it's bad for business when old men embarrass young fighters." Jarvis wouldn't meet his eyes. "He suggested I fire you. Said if I didn't, there might be problems for the company. Vandalism, permits getting held up, inspections. And, Shane, you've been with me 8 years. You're the best foreman I've ever had. But this guy, he's connected. My cousin owns a restaurant on South Side. The Vipers shook him down for protection money. When he refused, they burned it down. Insurance ruled it arson, but nobody could prove anything. So you're firing me. I'm sorry. 2 weeks severance, good references. But you need to be gone today." Shane drove home, his mind working through scenarios. Royce was escalating, applying pressure, testing defenses. This was psychological. Warfare. Make Shane's life uncomfortable. Isolate him, then strike when he was vulnerable. Classic gang tactics. But Shane had fought insurgents who used the same playbook, and he'd learned something in the Corps. When your enemy attacks your flanks, you don't defend. You attack his center. That night, he met Gabriel Stevenson at a diner outside town. Gabriel slid a thick folder across the table. "Everything I could find on Royce Clark and the Vipers. The gang runs a dozen legitimate businesses as fronts, auto shops, nightclubs, a construction company. But the real money comes from underground fighting circuits. They host matches every month, betting pools reaching $500,000 per event. Fighters aren't regulated, safety's non-existent. 3 deaths in the past 2 years. Where do they hold the fights? Rotating locations. Warehouses mostly. They announce the venue only hours before, mostly to known bettors and associates." Gabriel tapped a page. "But here's interesting. The fights are sanctioned through a shell company called Apex Events Management. The owner of record is Perry Cox." Shane studied the documents. "Perry's just the front man. Royce controls everything." "Right. And Dustin Freeman is their star attraction. He brings in the big bets because he's psychotic. Doesn't know when to stop. 3 opponents ended up brain damaged because Dustin kept hitting after they were unconscious." "How many fighters does Royce use?" "About 20 regulars. Most are gang members or associates. But here's the thing. Royce has been recruiting legitimate MMA fighters lately, offering them huge purses. Some are desperate enough to risk it." Shane's mind assembled a strategy. "I need to get inside one of these events. Shane, these aren't amateur boxing matches. People die. And after what you did to Dustin, Royce will have your face circulated to every Viper in the city. Then I'll need a way in they won't expect." Shane smiled coldly. "Tell me about the recruitment process." Chapter 5. The Trap. 3 days later, Shane sat in a dive bar called The Cage on Southside Territory, nursing a beer and watching D. Dixon work the room. Dixon was one of Royce's recruiters, a wiry man in his 30s who scouted talent for the underground fights. Gabriel's intel said Dixon visited The Cage every Thursday, looking for desperate fighters. Shane had spent those 3 days transforming himself. He'd shaved his beard to stubble, bought clothes from a thrift store, worn jeans, a faded tap-out shirt, cheap sneakers. He looked like every other washed-up fighter drowning in regret and cheap beer. Dixon approached after Shane's 3rd beer. "You look like you can handle yourself." Shane glanced up, playing the part. "Used to." "Used to?" Dixon sat down uninvited. "What happened?" "Life. Bad knees. Worse decisions." Shane took a drink. "You hiring?" "Depends. You got a record?" "Amateur circuit, years ago. Nothing professional." The lies came. Easily, Shane had practiced them. "But I need money. Wife's medical bills are killing me." Dixon studied him. "How old are you?" 48, but I can still throw down. We've got a fight coming up. $5 grand for showing up, 20 if you win. Interested? Hell yes. It's not sanctioned. You understand what that means? I understand money's money. Dixon pulled out a phone, snapped Shane's photo. I'll run you by my boss. You got a name? Larry Perkins. Shane had built the identity carefully. A real person who died 3 years ago in a car accident. Same age, similar build, enough to pass casual scrutiny. Stay here, Larry. 10 minutes later, Dixon returned. Boss wants to meet you. You free now? Shane followed Dixon to a blacked-out Escalade. Inside were 2 Vipers, Jason Morse, a heavily tattooed enforcer, and Marquis McGuire, a quiet killer whose rap sheet Gabriel had shown Shane included 2 murders. They drove to a warehouse in the industrial district. Inside, the space had been converted into a makeshift gym, cage, weights, training equipment, and in the center, on a folding chair like a throne, sat Royce Clark. Royce was 50, built like a bull, with graying hair slicked back and dead eyes that had seen too much violence. He wore an expensive suit that barely concealed the weapon at his hip. Larry Perkins, Royce's voice was gravel. D says you need money. That's right. You know who I am? I've heard stories. Then you know what happens to people who waste my time or cross me. Shane met his eyes steadily. I'm just looking for a payday. Royce studied him for a long moment. You look familiar. Shane's pulse remained steady. Years of controlling physiological responses in interrogation training. I've got one of those faces. Strip. Shane didn't hesitate. He removed his shirt, revealing the extra weight he carried, but also the underlying muscle definition. Old scars from combat marked his torso. Shrapnel, knife wound, bullet graze. They told a story Royce could read. Military? Marines. Long time ago. Royce stood, walked around Shane. What did you do? Infantry. Did my time, got out. Bullshit. Those scars aren't from standing guard duty. Royce poked at the knife scar. You saw action. Yeah, Iraq and Afghanistan. And now you need money bad enough to fight in my cage. Royce smiled without warmth. Your opponent is Brenton Cantrell. You might have heard of him, fighter at Titan's Forge, just recovered from an injury. He's angry, wants to hurt someone. That someone's going to be you. Shane recognized the name, one of the fighters he'd put down at the gym. This was a test. Royce suspected something but couldn't confirm it. He was dangling bait. When's the fight? Saturday night. But first, you train here. Let my coach see what you can do. If you're as good as you claim, you fight. If you're wasting my time... Royce let the threat hang. For the next 2 days, Shane trained at the warehouse, under the watchful eye of Salvador Calhoun, a former boxer who trained Royce's fighters. Shane carefully calibrated his performance, good enough to impress, not so dominant as to raise suspicion. He sparred with mid-level fighters, took some hits, gave some back, played the role of a competent but aging warrior. But at night, he worked his real plan. Using the access he'd gained, Shane planted surveillance equipment around the warehouse. Tiny cameras in light fixtures, audio bugs in the office where Royce conducted business. He photographed documents, memorized faces, built a comprehensive picture of the Vipers organization. Gabriel had connected him with Linda Kane, an FBI agent who'd been trying to build a case against Royce for 3 years. Shane fed her everything, evidence of illegal gambling, racketeering, assault. But they needed more. They needed proof of the fights, the betting, the whole operation. Saturday arrived. By evening, Shane stood in a converted warehouse on the docks, surrounded by 300 people. Gang members, gamblers, dealers, dirty cops, wealthy thrill seekers. Money changed hands in thick stacks. The air reeked of sweat, smoke, and blood. In the cage across from Shane, Brenton Cantrell warmed up, his ear still bandaged from their previous encounter. But Brenton didn't recognize him. The beard was gone, the context was different, and people saw what they expected to see. Royce stepped into the cage, microphone in hand. Gentlemen, our main event, Brenton, the Butcher Cantrell, versus Larry Perkins, some old Marine looking for grocery money. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Brenton's gonna make this quick and painful. The bell rang. Chapter 6. The unmasking. Brenton came out aggressive, throwing heavy combinations. Shane moved defensively, circling, absorbing strikes on his forearms, playing the overmatched underdog. The crowd jeered. Royce watched from ringside, his expression bored. But Shane was setting the tempo, controlling the distance, studying Brenton's patterns. After 2 minutes, he'd seen enough. The next time Brenton threw a wild right hook, Shane stepped inside, trapped the arm, and delivered a textbook elbow strike to the temple. Brenton's eyes glazed. Shane swept the legs, followed him down, and applied a rear-naked choke. 7 seconds later, Brenton tapped frantically. The crowd erupted. Money changed hands. Royce's expression shifted from bored to interested. Shane released the choke and helped Brenton up. As their eyes met, recognition flashed across Brenton's face. His eyes went wide. "You..." Shane's fist connected with Brenton's jaw, cutting off the revelation. Brenton crumpled. The crowd assumed it was post-fight drama, laughed and cheered. But Shane had seen Royce's eyes narrow. He exited the cage quickly, collected his $5,000 from D. Dixon, and headed for the exit. But Jason Morse blocked his path. "Boss wants to see you." Shane's hand moved toward the folding knife in his pocket, but he caught himself. Not yet. Not here, surrounded by enemies. He followed Morse to a back office where Royce waited, flanked by Marquis McGuire. "Hell of a fight, Larry." Royce poured whiskey into 2 glasses. "For an old man." "I've still got some moves." "Yeah, you do. Funny thing, Brenton seemed to recognize you right before you knocked him out." "People mistake me for other people sometimes." Royce slid a photograph across the desk. Shane's stomach dropped. It was a security camera still from Titan's Forge, showing Shane mid-fight with Lamar Duncan. "This is from my nephew's gym. 2 weeks ago, some asshole walked in and hospitalized 4 of my guys, including Brenton." Royce tapped the photo. "This asshole looks a lot like you, except he had a beard." The room went silent. Marquis' hand moved toward his waistband. Shane calculated angles, distances, exits. He was outgunned, but not outmatched. "My nephew Dustin is still eating through a straw because of this guy," Royce continued. "You know what I do to people who hurt my family? I imagine you make them disappear." "Exactly." Royce leaned back. "So here's my problem, Larry. Or should I call you Shane Jones? See, I did my homework after Dee sent me your photo. Took a while to connect the dots, but facial recognition software is amazing these days. Shane Jones, formerly Gunnery Sergeant Shane Jones. MC Map instructor at Quantico, Force Recon before that. Quite a resume." Shane said nothing. "You came into my operation under false pretenses. You humiliated my nephew and my fighters. You cost me money and respect." Royce's voice hardened. "That requires consequences." "Then why am I still breathing?" Royce smiled. "Because I'm a businessman. You're a talented fighter, and you've got skills I can use. So here's the deal. You fight for me. Exclusive contract, 20 fights, $50,000 each. You win, you make $1 million, and we forget about Dustin. And if I refuse? Your wife Lisa works at County General, night shift on Thursdays. Your daughter Marcy lives alone in that apartment on Maple Street. Accidents happen, Shane. Terrible, random accidents." There it was, the threat he'd been expecting. Shane's face remained neutral, but his mind raced. This was the moment of decision. "I need time to think." "You've got 60 seconds. Shane stood, walked to the window, his back to them. He could see his reflection in the glass. A tired man carrying too much weight. Too many years. But underneath, the warrior remained. And warriors didn't negotiate with terrorists. "Okay," Shane said. "I'll fight for you." Royce's laugh was genuine. "Smart man, welcome to the team." They shook hands. Royce's grip was crushing, a dominance display. Shane matched it, then exceeded it, squeezing until he felt the bones shift. Royce's smile faltered. "One condition," Shane said. "My family doesn't know about this. As far as they're concerned, I'm working construction in Nevada for 6 months. Done. But you live here, train here. I need to know where you are at all times." "Fair enough." That night, Shane moved into a room above the warehouse gym. Royce assigned Dee Dixon to watch him, ensure he didn't run. But Shane wasn't planning to run. He was planning something far more dangerous. Using the burner phone Gabriel had given him, Shane texted one word: inside. The next morning, he began his real mission. Training with Royce's fighters, he assessed their skills, identified weaknesses, memorized the operational structure. He ingratiated himself with Salvador Calhoun, the coach, learning the schedule of fights, the betting system, the protection payoffs to cops and officials. And at night, when Dee thought he was sleeping, Shane moved through the warehouse like a ghost. He photographed financial records, recorded conversations, documented the entire criminal enterprise. Every piece of evidence went to Gabriel, who passed it to FBI agent Kane. But Shane was playing a deeper game. He wasn't just gathering evidence, he was identifying pressure points. Every organization had vulnerabilities, people who could be turned, alliances that could be fractured. Royce's empire looked solid, but Shane knew from combat. The bigger the fortress, the more catastrophic the collapse when you found the right crack. His opportunity came 2 weeks later when he overheard Royce arguing with his lieutenant, Marquis McGuire, about money. Marquis thought Royce was shorting him on profits. Royce accused Marquis of skimming. The argument ended with threats, but Shane heard the fracture forming. He also learned that Dustin Freeman, still recovering from Shane's beating, was becoming a liability. Dustin had developed a dependency on pain medication, was unstable, paranoid. Royce was losing faith in his nephew. All the pieces were falling into place. Shane just needed to push them in the right direction. Chapter 7. The Long Game. Shane's third fight was against Lamar Duncan, the first fighter he'd put down at Titan's Forge. This time Shane didn't hold back. He dismantled Lamar in 90 seconds with a combination of strikes and submissions that left the crowd stunned and Lamar unconscious. Afterward, Royce pulled him aside. "You're making me a lot of money, Shane. The odds were 8-1 against you. I cleaned up. Glad I could help." "You know what I think?" Royce lit a cigar. "I think you could beat my nephew in his prime. Hell, you could probably beat anyone in this organization." "Probably. Why'd you really come here? And don't give me that grocery money bullshit." Shane had been waiting for this question. "Dustin put my daughter in the hospital. I went to his gym to teach him a lesson. You escalated by threatening my family and getting me fired. So I infiltrated your operation to find leverage." The honesty surprised Royce. "That's it? Revenge?" "I'm a simple man with simple motivations. And now? Now I'm making money and my family is safe. Seems like a fair trade." Royce studied him. "You're either the smartest man I've met or the dumbest. I can't decide which. Maybe both." Over the following weeks, Shane became Royce's favorite fighter, his cage record undefeated at 7-0. But more importantly, he became trusted. Royce brought him into planning meetings, asked his tactical advice, even had him train younger fighters. Shane used every opportunity. He planted seeds of doubt, subtle manipulations that played on existing tensions. He mentioned to Marquis that Royce had called him unreliable. He told Dee that Marquis was planning to branch out independently. He suggested to Salvador that Royce was planning to replace him with a younger coach. None of it was true, but Shane understood human psychology. People believed what confirmed their existing suspicions, and in a criminal organization built on paranoia and violence, suspicion spread like cancer. Meanwhile, FBI agent Kane built her case. Shane's evidence had given her enough for warrants, surveillance authorization, wiretaps. She had everything except the timing. "We can take them down now," she told Shane during a clandestine meeting at a truck stop outside town. "We've got RICO charges, racketeering, illegal gambling, assault, conspiracy." "Not yet," Shane said. "Royce has cops and judges in his pocket. He'll walk or get a light sentence, be back on the streets in 2 years. We need to hit him when he's completely vulnerable." "What are you planning?" "Something Royce will never see coming. Just be ready to move when I give the signal." The signal came 2 weeks later. Shane had learned that Royce was planning his biggest fight yet, a title match between Dustin Freeman and a Russian fighter named Andrei, with betting pools expected to exceed $2 million. Every major player in the criminal underworld would attend. Every dirty cop, every corrupt official, every gang leader Royce did business with. It would be the biggest gathering of criminal enterprise in the city's history. It would also be their last. Shane approached Royce with a proposition. "I want to fight Dustin." Royce laughed. "You beat my nephew unconscious already." "Exactly. The rematch would draw massive betting. You'd make a fortune." "Dustin's not ready. He's still recovering. Unstable." "Then let me fight the Russian, Andre." Royce's expression shifted to genuine surprise. "You serious? Andre's a killer. He's 6'5", 260, professional heavyweight. He's destroyed everyone we've put against him. I can beat him. You're 50 pounds lighter and 20 years older. I know what I'm doing." Royce considered this. The odds would be astronomical. If Shane won, Royce would make millions. If Shane lost, well, Royce would still make money, and he'd be rid of a potential threat. "Okay," Royce said finally. "You fight Andre, but we do it right. Huge promotion, massive betting pool. This will be the event of the year." Perfect. Shane had 1 month to prepare. During that month, he trained harder than he had in 15 years, shedding weight, sharpening techniques, rebuilding the weapon he'd once been. But he also finalized his other preparations. Gabriel flew in from San Diego with equipment, cameras, recording devices, encrypted communications. Agent Kane positioned FBI tactical teams around the city. Local police, the clean ones who weren't on Royce's payroll, were briefed and put on standby. And Shane made one final call to his wife. "Lisa, I need you to trust me. On Saturday night, take Marcy and go to your sister's in Oregon. Don't ask questions. Don't tell anyone. Just go." "Shane, what are you doing?" "Fixing things. I'll call you when it's over. I love you." "Shane, I love you, Lisa. Tell Marcy I'm proud of her." He hung up before she could respond. Chapter 8. The Architect's Design. Saturday night arrived like Judgment Day. The warehouse on the docks had been transformed into an arena packed with over 500 people. The betting pool had reached $3 million. Every criminal element in the city was present, drawn by greed and spectacle. Shane stood in the makeshift locker room wrapping his hands when Dustin Freeman entered. Dustin's face had healed poorly, his nose crooked, gaps where teeth used to be. His eyes held a manic gleam. "I know what you're doing," Dustin said. "You think you're clever, infiltrating my uncle's operation. But you're going to die tonight. Andre's going to kill you, and I'm going to watch." Shane finished wrapping his hands. "Your uncle's going to prison tonight. You are too. And the woman you put in the hospital? She's never going to see you again. You have no idea who you're fucking with. I'm fucking with a coward who hits women and hides behind his uncle. I'm fucking with a failed fighter who needs drugs to get through the day. I'm fucking with a punk who's about to watch his entire world collapse." Dustin's fist came fast, but Shane was faster. He caught the wrist, twisted, and slammed Dustin face first into the locker. "You're going to sit there and stay quiet. Move again. I'll break your arm." Dustin whimpered and nodded. In the arena, Royce stood in the cage with a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, criminals and degenerates, welcome to the fight of the century," the crowd roared. "In this corner, our champion, Andre the Siberian Bear Volkov. Undefeated, unstoppable, unbeatable." Andre climbed into the cage, massive, scarred, empty-eyed, a killer who enjoyed his work. And the challenger, a man stupid enough to think he can win, Shane, the Instructor Jones. Shane entered the cage to mixed reactions. Some cheers from those who'd bet on the underdog, mostly jeers from those who knew he was doomed. Royce approached Shane one last time. Last chance to back out. "I'm good. Your funeral." Royce exited the cage. The referee, one of Royce's guys, gave perfunctory instructions. Shane and Andre touched gloves. Andre's grip was crushing. His eyes promised death. The bell rang. Andre charged like a bull, throwing massive hooks and overhands. Shane evaded, circled, making Andre chase him. The crowd grew restless. They wanted blood, not dancing. But Shane was fighting a different fight. He wasn't trying to win, not yet. He was waiting for his signal. It came 3 minutes into the first round. The warehouse lights flickered once, twice, then steady. Gabriel's signal. Shane changed tactics. He stopped evading and started attacking. A low kick to Andre's lead leg, a jab to the body, a hook to the liver. Andre grunted, surprised by the sudden offense. Shane pressed forward, his strikes precise and devastating. Liver shots, leg kicks, body punches. The Russian's mass was his weakness. Shane was faster, more technical, more efficient. Andre tried to clinch, use his size advantage. Shane anticipated, dropped levels, and executed a perfect double-leg takedown. On the ground, Shane was in his element. He moved to mount, postured up, and rained down elbows. The crowd was screaming now. This wasn't supposed to happen. Andre tried to roll, but Shane transitioned to back control, hooks in, hand under the chin. The rear naked choke was textbook perfect, sunk deep. Andre thrashed, tried to break the grip, but Shane's technique was flawless. 10 seconds later, Andre went limp. The referee stopped the fight. Shane released the choke and stood, raising his hands. But he wasn't looking at the crowd. He was looking at the exits, where FBI agents in tactical gear were pouring in. "Federal agents! Nobody move!" The warehouse erupted into chaos. Criminals ran for exits only to find them blocked. Agents swarmed the building, weapons drawn, shouting orders. Some of Royce's guys tried to fight. They were tased, tackled, and cuffed. In the cage, Shane watched Royce's face transform from shock to fury to betrayal. Their eyes locked across the chaos. "You!" Royce screamed, pushing through the crowd toward the cage. "You did this!" Marquis and Dee tried to follow, but FBI agents intercepted them. The massive operation Shane had helped orchestrate was unfolding perfectly. Every entrance sealed, every exit covered, every criminal in the building trapped. Royce reached the cage, climbing in with murder in his eyes. "I'm going to kill you!" Shane smiled. "You're going to try." Royce pulled a knife from his waistband, a tactical folder, wicked sharp. He lunged, slashing. Shane's disarm was reflexive, practiced 10,000 times. He trapped Royce's wrist, applied pressure to the nerve cluster, twisted. The knife clattered to the canvas. Then Shane went to work. 15 years of teaching Marines how to end threats efficiently. Every technique, every principle, every lesson delivered with surgical precision. Jab, cross, hook to the body, leg sweep, ground control. Shane mounted Royce and delivered controlled strikes, not enough to kill, but enough to punish. "This is for my daughter," a strike to the ribs. "This is for every woman you terrorized," another to the solar plexus. "This is for every life you ruined," a final strike to the jaw. Royce went limp, unconscious, but alive. Shane stood as FBI agents swarmed the cage, weapons trained on both of them. "Shane Jones, hands up!" Shane complied, hands raised. Agent Kane pushed through the crowd, her expression severe for the cameras but her eyes grateful. "You're under arrest for participation in illegal fighting." Understood. She cuffed him, deliberately loose, and whispered, "Play along. We discussed this." Shane was led out through the chaos, past the arrested gang members, past the terrified gamblers, past Dustin Freeman being dragged away in cuffs. Outside, news cameras had arrived. The FBI had tipped them off. This would be national news by morning. In the back of an FBI van, Agent Kane uncuffed Shane. "We got everyone. Royce, Marquis, Dustin, Dee, Salvador, all the major players, plus 57 criminals with outstanding warrants, 12 dirty cops, 3 judges, and more evidence than we can process." "Good. The charges against you are for show. We'll drop them tomorrow. Claim you were acting as a confidential informant. You'll be clear." "And my family?" "Safe. We've had them in protective custody since you made the call." Shane nodded, exhaustion suddenly overwhelming him. It was over. 3 months of planning, manipulation, and risk. But it was finally over. Chapter 9. Resolution. The trial took 8 months, Shane testified, his immunity deal protecting him from prosecution. The evidence he'd gathered, Financial records, recordings, videos, was overwhelming. Royce Clark received 40 years in federal prison. Marky McGuire got 25. Dustin Freeman, facing assault charges for Marcy plus his participation in the illegal fighting ring, got 15. The Southside Vipers collapsed without leadership, their criminal empire dismantled by follow-up investigations. Shane Jones returned home to a life that was quieter, but not unchanged. The furniture company rehired him. The owner had seen the news, understood the full story, and apologized. Shane accepted, but he knew that part of his life felt small now. Marcy had been in therapy, working through the trauma Dustin had inflicted. She was stronger now, cautious, but not broken. Father and daughter had dinner every Sunday, a ritual that helped them both heal. One evening, 3 months after the trial, Shane sat on his porch with Lisa, watching the sunset. She held his hand, her thumb tracing the scars on his knuckles. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "No. You could have died, multiple times. But I didn't. And they're gone. All of them. Was it worth it?" Shane considered this. The months of danger, the lies, the violence, the risk to himself and indirectly to his family. Was justice worth that price? He thought of Marcy's smile at last Sunday's dinner, genuinely happy for the first time in a year. He thought of the other victims who'd testified at trial, finding their voices because Shane had given them the courage. He thought of the city, slightly safer because one criminal empire had fallen. "Yeah," Shane said, "it was worth it." A car pulled up, Gabriel Stevenson, visiting from San Diego. He joined them on the porch with beers, and they sat in comfortable silence, 3 people who'd gone to war and survived. "FBI offered me a consultant position," Shane mentioned, "teaching hand-to-hand combat to agents, helping with undercover operations." Lisa's hand tightened on his. "And? I turned it down. I've had enough of that life. I just want to build furniture, have Sunday dinners with Marcy, and grow old with you." Good answer. But Shane knew himself better than that. Somewhere inside, the warrior remained, always watching, always ready, always capable. If another Royce Clark emerged, if another Dustin Freeman threatened his family, Shane would do it all again. Some men were born to fight. Shane had accepted that about himself long ago. "Dad?" Shane turned to find Marcy standing in the doorway, her boyfriend beside her, a gentle accountant named Noah Cobb, who treated her with respect and kindness. "Hey, sweetheart. Noah and I have some news." She was smiling. "We're engaged." Lisa squealed and rushed to hug them both. Gabriel offered congratulations. Shane stood slowly, approached Noah, and extended his hand. "Congratulations, son." Noah shook his hand nervously. "Thank you, sir. I promise I'll treat her right." "I know you will." Shane's grip was firm but not crushing. "But just so we're clear, I was a Marine Corps hand-to-hand combat instructor for 15 years. You've seen the news reports about what happened to the last guy who hurt my daughter." Noah paled slightly. Marcy swatted Shane's arm. "Dad!" Shane grinned. "I'm kidding. Mostly." He pulled Noah into a hug, clapping him on the back. "Welcome to the family." As they celebrated inside, Shane stepped back onto the porch alone. The sun had set completely, leaving stars scattered across the dark sky. He thought about the path that had led him here, from the battlefields of Iraq and Afghanistan, through the training halls of Quantico, into the underworld of criminal fighting, and finally home. The journey had been violent and dangerous, but necessary, because some things were worth fighting for. Family, justice, the basic human right to live without fear. Shane Jones had been a warrior his entire adult life. He'd fought for his country, trained others to fight, and ultimately fought for the people he loved most. And standing on his porch, surrounded by family and friends, he knew he'd do it all again if needed. But for tonight, the war was over. Tonight he was just a father celebrating his daughter's happiness. And that was enough. Epilogue 2 years later, Shane Jones stood in a different role. Grandfather. Marcy had given birth to a healthy boy, named after Shane's father. The old warrior held his grandson carefully, marveling at the fragile weight of new life. The boy would grow up in a world slightly safer because his grandfather had made difficult choices. He'd never know about the violence, the danger, the calculated revenge that had removed a criminal empire from the streets. But someday, if that boy needed protection, if evil threatened his life the way it had threatened Marcy's, he'd have a grandfather who knew how to fight back. For now, though, Shane was content to simply hold his grandson and feel the warmth of family around him. Lisa beside him, Marcy and Noah nearby, Gabriel visiting from San Diego. The past was behind them, the future uncertain but hopeful. Shane Jones had been a Marine, an instructor, a warrior, and an avenger. Now finally, he was just a man at peace, and that was the greatest victory of all.
And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen, and I'll see you there.